So the main topic this week is PewDiePie, and I don't like to talk about this guy a lot.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of reasons that I disagree, or sorry, there are a lot of reasons that I don't like him. It's not a singular thing. I could go on a tangent, but let's go on a specific tangent of racism.
Yeah.
PewDiePie this past week was doing a live stream and said
he got irritated at somebody that shot him and called him the N-word, and then was like, wait a minute, that's I'm sorry, he's an a-hole.
He immediately said, I'm sorry, blah blah blah, but the connotation of, I think he says like to the effect of like, you're such a, or he's such a, and he apologized immediately on the stream, and then he had an apology video that he actually put up where he talked about he was in the heat of the moment, and then he was really sorry about it. And immediately I thought that just kind of makes it worse because
what you say in the heat of the moment, I mean, it's kind of in vita veritas, in wine truth, in emotional, when your emotions are high, a lot of times truth comes out. And so I think that this indicates that it's likely that he's comfortable using the word in other contexts.
If he was around very close friends, that he wouldn't care about using it. That's how I felt about it. Because his other part of his apology said that he was trying to think of the worst thing to call that person. And again, I think that
that's
digging a hole.
You're not helping.
Because if you're saying this is the worst thing that I can call you, that the thought process to him was not what is the worst word to use at this moment. It's not a comedic thing. A couple of my friends and I have been talking about this this past week, where when is it appropriate to use said word or whatever. And to me, I think that the only time that I've heard it used where I think that it was appropriate for the situation has been in a comedic situation. Blazing Saddles is a perfect example of that, where you have specific words that are used, and it's used to highlight the gravity. It's used to highlight the problem with it. Yeah. And I think I think that historically it needs to be something that we remember. It needs to be something that we should be able to talk about. But if you say, what is the worst thing I can call you, and that's your answer, that's pretty bad, because not only is it like, yes, it's a bad word, but the connotation, the racial connotation of that word, it doesn't matter what the ethnicity of that person is, because he didn't know.
Yeah.
So the thought process is, what's the worst thing I can call you? I'm going to call you this. So I played mental Mad Libs on this. I'm like, if you put any other racial slur in there, to me, like, immediately I was thinking, like, why would you call that person that? Because all the others that I Mad Libbed in there, which I will not say out loud, but all the others that I Mad Libbed in my mind, I'm like, you're such a whatever, fill in the blank. Now, think about what that means to what you just said. Because usually, it's not just like, oh, that's a bad thing to call them. If you call them a specific racial slur that's against Asian people, Jewish people, whatever it is, immediately you have the thought process of
the worst thing I could do is say that you are of this ethnicity or race or creed or religion or whatever, and it's like, no.
And deep down, racism-wise, what does that say about what you're thinking about that situation, and what stereotypes? Because immediately that's what I'm thinking. He didn't use a specific, again, talking about stereotypes, if he'd used a specific racial slur against another ethnicity, there are other racial connotations in regards to stereotypes, negative stereotypes, that I think would pull into that. This made me reading into it a lot, but I think psychological-wise that makes perfect sense. If he had called him something that had to do with Jewish people, was he, again, stereotypes, was he referring to something that is a stereotype against them? Like, why did he choose that word in that situation? To me, that's really telling.
Yeah. And his excuse was, heat of the moment, and I'm surrounded by all this stuff. And it's like,
I'm surrounded by it too. I've heard many people online say stuff about my mother. I've heard so many people say things about all kinds of things, call me different names. I have never called someone in multiplayer or sitting at home by myself never used that word or any of the other words that I could think of that have a similar gravity to them.
Yeah, because that demonstration of racism of just basically prejudice against other people is not something that I've internalized to the point that that's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
So moving to the second part of what happened, Campo Santo said that they were not comfortable with this, and so they said they were going to issue a DMCA strike against PewDiePie's plays of their Firewatch.
Yes.
And then the videos were taken down. We don't know if that was because of an actual strike or if PewDiePie heard about it, chose to take it down, whatever. But that's another. It's a tool that's not to be used in that way.
Correct.
And he later came back and said, okay, I should have tried to contact him directly. This is not what this is for. And he realizes that when he was in an interview with VentureBeat talking about that. But like that also that kind of brought up another topic where it's another area where we're not okay with this particular use because it because of the implications. And the implication of using a copyright strike against somebody because you don't agree with them is censorship, restriction of freedom of speech, and it implies that the only reason we're able to play these games is not because we're legally allowed to, but because they are permitting us to do it out of their grace.
Correct.
Which is not how fair use is going. And I'm really looking forward to the day when this gets to the top of the Supreme Court, and
because I'm
also
had enough
terrified
cases.
of that because the Supreme Court has clearly demonstrated on many occasions that they have no clue what they're doing.
They don't know about
technology and media and property rights. Like everything of that is so far outside of their wheelhouse that they don't have the ability to make law-based judgments on that. In my opinion,
I agree.
So that could at the end of the day go either way, and I'm not looking forward to that. But I want it to be resolved because to those of us who do understand, this is a fairly cut and dried case that fair use entitles us to be able to, like when we have our videos up here, that we're able to put it forward, and we're adding something, we're doing commentary or something like that. We're contributing something. This is a new thing that we are creating. It's not just this game that we have. And so
so to me, if you are saying that if a critic wrote a review of a movie or whatever. So that's very much what commentary is creating, and they've had cases on that, and they've had court cases that this should fall under, where you are creating new content. What you're doing is creating new content. You are not copying verbatim what was given to you, and you're creating a new way to consume said content. So if you create a review or a playthrough of a game, and then you say something completely unrelated in your personal life, you can't take down that whoever you did the review of, she cannot have you take it down for something unrelated. Similarly, I would say this is where there is a difference. They replaced Kermit the Frog from the Muppets. So the new Muppets that are coming out is going to have a new guy. Steve Whitmore was the guy who took over after Henson passed away. So Whitney and I were discussing, Whitmore's more of Kermit to me because I watched Muppet Christmas Carol. That's Steve Whitmore. So he's been doing it forever. And he has said some things outside of the Muppets that Disney and Henson Studios were like, hey, we really don't appreciate this. We don't appreciate da-da-da-da-da. And he kept doing it, so then he was let go. Now that is different because he is the company that he works for let him go. So if you are a reviewer and you're working for a company and that company says, you know what, I can't employ you here anymore because it's that whatever, that's fine. But that is a decision based on the company, and PewDiePie is technically his own LLC.
And so if a
he'd have to fire himself.
And so if a movie company disagreed with something that Ebert said,
you can't have their review
his
taken
politics.
out.
You're not able to then throw the law at him and be like, we don't like Ebert, and so he can't review our movies. It's like, no. this is a separate thing.
Yes.
This and critique and commentary,
Yeah.
these are new forms of,
Yeah.
of art.
And how- yeah.
they are creating something that is separate from the original property.
Yeah. The only reason this is getting a spotlight is because of how big PewDiePie is.
Yeah.
Because I know, I don't even have to look, I know these words are being used in other Let's Plays.
Yeah.
They're being used in other people's streams on Twitch.
Yeah.
Because, unfortunately, you don't have anyone to censor you on the internet, so you can say whatever you want, fortunately and unfortunately. So a lot of this hate still comes out in regards to Let's Plays and Twitch streams. So I don't think there can be or should be a way to straight up censor everything, because it's all based on context.
Yeah.
And I think that the viewer should be able to turn it off. If you don't like this, then you should be able to turn it off. So
Yeah,
anyone
like-
who disagrees with usage of those type of racial, this is not his first offense, by the way.
No,
This
far
is
from it.
his fourth on race alone, not counting other infractions that people are like, that's horrible, or
Yeah.
that's shady.
Yeah.
This is his fourth one regards to race itself.
Right, and he's demonstrated various other things that we find unethical. Like
Yeah.
we are not subscribed to, nor do we follow him partly because of those things. But like when he was talking about, once I reach 50 million subscribers, then I'll delete my channel. He deletes another channel, using this as propaganda.
Yeah.
and
We
means
got
to-
him because everyone wanted to see him delete his channel, so people subscribed.
Yeah.
Just to see him delete his channel.
Yeah.
And now he has them as subscribers, possibly, for
Right, and he's continued to go up, and now he's at 57, 58 or something. And it's because we have issues with him personally, we as consumers
Yeah.
are absolutely within our rights to do this, but the freedom of speech allowed us in America means that he can say whatever we want. We could use offensive words here. We choose not to do so specifically for these reasons.
I would say I know I used one that's pretty offensive there, but I was trying to think of other things to use. But this is the same thing that sunk Roman Polanski's career. Roman Polanski was the director at the time, but because of because of his actions outside, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because of his actions outside of directing, no one wanted to see his movies anymore. And then what made it worse is that he left the United States when he was told by the court and by his lawyer, yeah, you can continue working and go and leave the country. Mm-hmm. He did, and then they were like, once you get back here, we're going to arrest you and you're going to be thrown in jail. Because this is the internet, and the internet is fickle, very fickle, and you have people who will subscribe because they hate or because they like, doesn't matter. He's continued to have subscribers. To me, I like to think that people should be voting with their dollar, in this case ad revenue.
Yeah.
Don't watch his videos if you don't agree with what he's doing and why he's doing it and how he is milking and abusing the system and other people.
Yeah. And that's the ability that we have. We have the ability to vote with our wallets. Like, okay, I was interested in playing some games by Konami, but because of their issues with Hideo Kojima and the way that they treated him, and as well as other employees, I will only buy Konami games used.
Yeah.
Because I'm not willing to put money into that. And sometimes, and that is something that is designed. Like that's not by accident. People are allowed to say whatever they want, and we as consumers are responsible for what we support with our money, with our watch time, with again, like ad revenue, watching various content. So I guess the main takeaway for us here is we want to be as aware as possible of what we're supporting with our habits online, financially, and in other situations. So be aware of who it is you're supporting. And if you have an issue with us, anything that we say here that you find offensive, reach out to us and let us know, and we will work on that. We will look at it, see if it's something that perhaps we should change. Yeah. We are open to change.
Yeah, it's not about censorship at all. It's about love. And when you have these things coming from places of hate, that's a problem. Frustration, but hate especially at that level, is not acceptable. So much love, guys. Let us know in the comments what you think about people using these kind of words in Let's Plays. If you think that there's a place for it, in my opinion, comedy is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
But let us know in the comments what your thoughts on this subject are, and we'll talk to you guys later. Take care.